Good evening there, everybody. What is happening? Hopefully, y'all are having a wonderful day today. So, when it comes down to it, I thought, of course, that I'd review this little video that I thought was very particularly interesting. And I believe that this conversation, I've seen it on a couple of channels, and I kind of wanted to discuss it myself, at least in terms of what my thoughts and opinions were. And, overall, I've been doing a lot of videos, especially about the Terrence Bud Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez fight as of recently. And, I've done certain videos where I've stated that most people, they kind of take a look at a surface level analyzation and they don't usually see certain things overall for what they are. But of course, that being stated, someone in the comment section, I don't know if the comment's still there or not because I'm not sure if he deleted it or whatever it is, but he stated overall, well, and he brought up a very good point. He stated that many people overall, they kind of claim that, everything that they're claiming is quote unquote factual information. Everyone wants to claim that everything that they state is a quote unquote fact, but then when others state something that they disagree with, then all of a sudden it's deception or it's wrong. So how do you know that, you're 100% right or something like that? And that's a very, very fair point. And to be fair, I'm not someone that is ever right 100% of the time. Now, do I look at myself as someone that's a very good boxing analyst? Do I look at someone that keeps consistent standards? Do I look at myself as someone that overall usually gets the majority of my big fight predictions correct or my fight predictions correct? Yes. But the point is that, we are all going to take a look at things a little bit differently. But what I will personally state is this. I've never been a person, just in my view, that really takes a look at things just on the surface. I am someone that does take a look at things on an in-depth level. I like to get a very good analysis of usually whatever I'm looking at least if it's a sport or if it's something that I very much thoroughly enjoy. And boxing and combat sports, of course, when you talk about it, those are two sports that I've been thoroughly enjoying for a very, very long time now. For really, probably for, almost about 15 years, and I'm someone that is about 27 years old, excuse me. So, I've been involved in it, for a decently long time. They've been sports that I've grown up watching certain fighters such as Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Bud Crawford and certain guys like that. But of course, one of the fighters that, was kind of around that generation, a little bit before they kind of reached their peak, of course, was Timothy the Desert Storm Bradley. And Timothy the Desert Storm Bradley, of course, what he was, usually known for was that Timothy Bradley, he was kind of known for getting that, decision over Manny Pacquiao that a lot of people would call controversial. And in my view, I personally would state that it was controversial. There's not many times that I actually take a look at a decision and I state that it was a really, really a robbery. But that was probably one of the few decisions, at least during my lifetime, that I can take a look at and remember and say that, in my opinion, was a true robbery. That and Araceli Lara versus Paul Williams, Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder, in my view, the first time around, certain fights like that. Those, in my view, those are fights that would be quote unquote robberies. And there might be a few others that I'm not personally thinking of at the certain moment in time. But there are many fights that people will claim are robberies, quote unquote, and they don't really even know what the hell they're taking a look at. But what I'll personally state is this overall is that, if you personally state something that I may disagree with, I have no problem with it whatsoever. But at least provide some sort of evidence towards your point. But that's the thing about a lot of people that not just say something about boxing, but also say certain things about other topics as well. They may say something or they may ride with a potential argument and they, in all honesty, have no idea what the hell they're talking about or their argument whatsoever. I have a certain amount of people overall that come on my channel all the time and they always state, well, what is your opinion of an A grade level fighter? And it's usually been about the debate of a Terrence Bud Crawford's resume or a Naoya Inoue's resume, where certain people, of course, will ask me, well, how good do you think the resume is? How come you critique their resume to a certain degree because they've beaten this champion and this champion and this champion? Well, here's basically the thing that I'm going to lay down right here. We have to come up with a consistency and we have to come up, we may not all agree on what a potential A grade level fighter is, or what a cherry pick is, or what a quote unquote robbery is, but we should at least overall have somewhat of a consistent standard overall, at least just talking about this particular subject of what a quote unquote A grade level fighter would look like. Now, certain people have asked me in the past, who is someone that, in in your personal view, who is someone overall that would be a legit A grade level fighter? Well, to me, what an A grade level fighter is a fighter that either A, you can at least beat one or two A grade level fighters at a minimum, at least one A grade level fighter, Or, you don't lose to any B grade level fighters. Now, there are certain fighters that do end up beating one A grade level fighter in their career, and they're never heard from again, and I would never consider them as an A grade level fighter. When we take a look overall at, someone like a Jeff Horn, for example, is he someone that I would ever consider an A grade level fighter? Absolutely not. I think that he had one good night to where, to be honest with you, a lot of people believe that he didn't even win that fight. Now, in my view, that was a fight that could have went either way. So I don't mind Jeff Horn getting that fight, but he liked to use his physicality and also his size in that fight, and he was never heard from again after that night. When you take a look at certain fighters like James Buster Douglas had A grade level ability, but he was never really an A grade level fighter other than that one night against Mike Tyson. My point is that we do have to be consistent overall on what a quote unquote A grade level fighter is, because too many people overall, they love to use this narrative about, overall, well, this guy has fought low level competition and this guy has fought high grade level competition. But the thing is that many people will use this basically overall to discredit certain opponents or certain fighters that they don't like, and then uplift overall fighters that they tend to like. But anyways, the reason why I'm talking about this is because Timothy Bradley did a recent video talking about Gervonta Tank Davis's career. And overall, he's done a complete 180 now, talking about how he believes that Gervonta Tank Davis is a Hall of Famer and a great fighter. And I agree on both of those points. In my view, Gervonta Tank Davis is a great fighter, and he is someone that's a Hall of Famer. But is he someone, in my view, that is a quote-unquote underrated fighter or someone that has an underrated resume? No, he's not. He's someone that, in my personal view, and when we take a look at many fighters throughout boxing history, there's many people that, of course, will go as far to basically state that, this guy has a fabricated resume, that Canelo has a fabricated resume, or that Mayweather has a fabricated resume, or that this guy has a fabricated resume. But to be quite honest with you, out of any fighter that I've seen during my lifetime, I don't think that I've ever seen a fighter have more of a fabricated resume than that of Gervonta Tank Davis. And to be honest with you, I think that most people can kind of see through the bullshit, because I don't think anyone really considers the majority of the fighters that Gervonta Tank Davis has fought as quote unquote elite. Because when we take a look at those fighters, I'm sorry, but those fighters are not beating any legit A grade level fighters. I'm sorry, they're just not. But it is what it is, other than maybe that of a Frank Martin and possibly a Ryan Garcia. But that being stated, overall, Timothy Bradley, of course, he kind of went into it. I thought that it was very particularly interesting. Let's get into it and let's see what he has to say.
Yo, TimothyDesertStormBradley, you already know who it is. Boxing Hall of Famer, back with some more Car Chronicles. Look, man, I don't know what the hell got into me. Man, I woke up this morning tripping, man. Tripping. I don't know, man. Tank was on my mind, man. Ain't that something? Of all people, Tank was on my mind. So I just sit back and I've looked at his resume, man. And I got some interesting facts for y'all, man. If you look at his resume, this man didn't beat 8 undefeated fighters.
Well, I'm very glad that Timothy Bradley ended up mentioning this. We need to once again have a standard of what is a quote-unquote A-grade level fighter. Because, for example, when I talk about both Crawford's and Canelo's resume, and I state that in my view that Canelo Alvarez has a way better resume than that of a Terrence Bud Crawford, at least career-wise, there are certain people overall that say, well, what are your standards for an A-grade level fighter? As I've already stated, what an A-grade level fighter is to me is someone that can beat probably at least a few A-minus level fighters, or fighters that are looked at for a time as A-minus, or a fighter that at the very least is not going to lose to any B-grade level fighters more than likely. So when we talk about, A-grade level fighters that would just make, probably the A-minus tier, you're probably talking about guys like maybe a Victor Postol, because of course he got that one win over Lucas Matisse. Now, he kind of got that one win over Lucas Matisse because in my view he was kind of oversized for that weight class, and Matisse was kind of undersized for that weight class. But that being stated, Matisse still had a lot of very decent wins there, so I'll give him the A-minus grade. That being stated, Victor Postol, after every fight after Matisse, kind of showed who I always thought that he was. who's a talented fighter, but no one that's ever going to be looked at as quote unquote elite. It just is what it is, you know. But when I take a look at Canelo, for example, Billy Joe Saunders and Caleb Plant over on Callum Smith, those are guys to where you take a look at them. In my view, you could at least debate that they could at least possibly defeat a couple of A minus, you know, or A grade level fighters. If you put Billy Joe Saunders in the ring with certain guys like Jamal Charlo or Jamel Charlo, if he were to move up a weight class when he was at 160, you know, or other certain guys, maybe a prime Peter Quillen if you count him as an A grade level fighter, or other certain guys like that. Billy Joe Saunders, Jose Uzcategui, maybe even. He's going to come out at the end of the day at least on top over one of those fighters. When you take a look, you know, at Caleb Plant, he's also going to come out on top against some of those fighters. When you take a look also against that of a Callum Smith, he also is going to come out on top against some of those fighters. You know, and he right now is doing very decently well at the light heavyweight division. So once again, those are my personal standards as an, you know, what an A grade level fighter is. Not the fact that they're undefeated, not the fact that they're top 10 in their weight class. I can not give a shit about any of that, because I do understand that certain weight classes also can be massively weaker than that of other weight classes.
8 undefeated fighters, man. Okay? Oh, Tim, I already know what y'all gonna say. Tim, you know, those fighters aren't nothing. Those fighters, oh, really? Oh, really? Those fighters are nothing? Pedraza, 3-division world champion. That dude ain't nothing? 3-division world champion. Undefeated.
Well, Jose Pedraza, a very decent B grade level fighter, but does anyone take a look at Jose Pedraza and say, wow, that dude is just elite, elite? The only guys that really ever go off about Jose Pedraza are pretty much, you know, that of Gervonta Tank Davis fans. I've never seen another fan base really go off about Jose Pedraza. It's no offense.
Tank beat him. Beat him. Knocked him out. But Lomachenko get credit when he fight him. But
I've never, you know, this is just me personally, and I'm not stating that this didn't happen, but just overall to state that, you know, I've never heard anyone personally say, wow, did you see Lomachenko's great win over Jose Pedraza? Usually when people talk about Lomachenko's big win, you know, in his careers, or the biggest wins in his career, they're talking about Nicholas Walters, Guillermo Rigondeaux, you know, also that of what's his name, Gary Russell Jr., you know, Jorge Linares. Those are the guys that they're talking about. They're not usually talking about Jose Pedraza.
Tank don't get credit for that? All right, okay, some of y'all gonna...
Well, he gets credit for that, but the point is that how much credit does he truly deserve? Does anyone think that Jose Pedraza was going to just beat this elite line of A-grade level fighters? I'm sorry, but it just is what it is. Did anyone really think that that was going to happen?
Say, okay, yeah, Tim, we give him credit for that, but that's the only world championship that he has. Okay, all right. Is belts all that matters? Because if belts is all that matters, then y'all wouldn't be saying what y'all be saying about Terrence Crawford.
And I do agree with that. That belt is definitely not all that matters. In my personal view, the thing that is always going to be the most important is going to be resume. And when I say resume, I'm not talking about how many times you've been undisputed. I'm not talking about overall how many belts you've won. I'm not talking about how many undefeated bums you ended up defeating. I'm talking about your A-grade level fighters that you have fought. And just because a fighter is undefeated does not automatically make them an A-grade level fighter. I'm sorry.
Right? Because he got all the belts. However, Tank don't have many belts, but when you look at the opposition that he faced...
Right, but what level of opposition, my man? Like, what level of opposition? Is no offense, but if there was a certain amount of other fighters fighting that level of opposition that Gervonta Tank Davis was, could you imagine if Canelo Alvarez was doing that for the past 10 years? Fighting guys overall that were undefeated but were looked to have severe boxing, like, technical difficulties, like a Rolly Romero, someone like a Mario Barrios that was decent but wasn't really ever great. Could you imagine overall the way that some of these channels would have went after him? I mean, come on.
And when he faced...
Not even just Canelo, but Usyk, Inoue. I mean, people already say that Inoue's level of competition is very low. Could you imagine overall what some of these channels would be saying, like a Dante or an Aki TV would be claiming if he was fighting guys like a Rolly fucking Romero, or, you know, overall guys like a Isaac Pitbull Cruz or some of these other guys? Like, are you serious?
These guys, think about that. Where's Rolly Romero right now? Oh, I believe he... I believe he's a world champion.
Right, he's a world champion, Timothy Bradley, but please tell me on how he got that world championship. Did he get that world championship off of beating anyone that anyone would really claim is quote unquote elite? And I mean, he beat Ryan Garcia, but it's no offense against Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia is not really someone that anyone who has a boxing brain, that anyone really respects as an all around elite level boxer. He just makes too many mistakes. His chin is wide open in the air. He's someone that overall, you can kind of get to doubt himself, as the fight goes along, if you're able to get to him early, which is exactly happened against Rolly Romero. And I mean, it's no offense against Rolly Romero, but I've seen him get his ass kicked against Isaac Pitbull Cruz, who got thoroughly outboxed by Jose Valenzuela. And it's no offense, but if you're getting beaten by guys like Isaac Pitbull Cruz and Jose Valenzuela, you're not elite. Rolly Romero ended up getting 2 belts overall because of vacated belts. He ended up recently getting them because pretty much of the genius matchmaking by that of an Al Heyman. He knows that a certain amount of people overall that they're going to criticize his main queen bee, and that Gervonta Tank Davis, his main, star right now, when they're going to take a look at his resume and he'll be like, what are you talking about? Rolly Romero's a champion. Mario Barrios is a champion. Isaac Pitbull Cruz is a champion. What are you talking about? Right, but how did they all get their belts? Did they get their belts really beating someone that was quote unquote elite, or did they get it because of a vacancy? Rolly Romero ended up getting his first title overall, I believe, over a guy named Jose Barrazo or something like I don't even remember the dude's name, and he wasn't even winning the fight. Like a guy that no one fucking knows. He got knocked down like once or twice in that fight, was one of the worst stoppages of all time, and that's how Rolly Romero ended up getting his belt. So, I mean, we also have to talk about how they ended up winning their belts. It's not like they won their belt like a Josh Taylor or something like that when he was at his prime or something like that. It's not like they won it like that, my guy. So, I mean, come on. Like, what are you talking about right now? Isaac Pitbull Cruz got the belt off of beating Rolly Romero's ass. And it's his first title defense against Jose Valenzuela. He fucking loses it against a guy that was knocked out in the first round over that, I believe, of Edwin De Los Santos. Then he gets his ass kicked over Gary Antoine Russell, someone that lost to that, I believe, of a Alberto Puello. Guys that of course are very good, but like not guys that you would claim are A plus plus. So I mean, it is what it is, And then when you talk about Mario Barrios, he won a title that was vacant there, man. When Terrence Bud Crawford just vacated his titles. And then Duran Butanis just all of a sudden vacated some of his titles. So, of course, Rolly Romero now went up there, and now he's a champion. It's no offense, but they're not elite level fighters. And this is pretty much just marketing from that of an Al Heyman. I'm sorry, but that's all it is. Now, when you talk about other fighters, for example, like I've seen other resumes that are criticized that, in my view, don't deserve to be criticized. Like Floyd Mayweather Jr., for example, people will say that all he did was duck and avoid and all sort of stuff. And I never personally agreed with that, because Floyd fought guys at times when they were coming off of a great win in their career, or at least when they were champions. Like he fought Miguel Cotto coming off of a great 3-win streak, and when he was with that one great Cuban coach, I believe. I can't remember the dude's name. I believe, but the same guy who trained Guillermo Rigondeaux. He also, I believe, fought that, of Carlos Baldomir when he was coming off of victories over Arturo Gatti and Zab Judah and was like the unified welterweight champion of the world. He fought Manny Pacquiao when he was coming off of a win streak and was a champion there. He fought that of Oscar De La Hoya, not really at the best point in his career, but when he was still a 154-pound champion. He also fought that of a Juan Manuel Marquez at a good point in his career. He fought Ricky Hatton at his absolute peak. So he fought Shane Mosley after the ass whooping he gave Antonio Margarito. So, I mean, we can claim, of course, some of those guys had losses. But, I mean, the point is that Floyd still fought them at a great A-grade level point in their career. Maybe you can't debate with Floyd that he always fought undefeated fighters, but he still fought many, many A-grade level names. But when we talk about Gervonta, bro, like, give me a fucking rest. No offense about Gervonta, but I've never seen a more fabricated career in my whole time of watching boxing. And it's not that he's not someone that has a lot of potential. He does. But at the end of the day, you're 30-something years old, and on top of that, you're a dude that, should be really having more bigger fights. But now you're like 30-something and 0 in terms of your fight record. You're 30-something years old. You're at least supposed to have one super fight on there by now. And I understand overall that the Ryan Garcia fight was made, but anyone who knows Ryan Garcia knows that he was never going to defeat anyone elite. It just is what it is. Of course, he had that one win over Devin Haney. It's understandable, but other than that, and that was even called back because of the PEDs. But other than that, Ryan Garcia is not an A-grade level fighter. He's just not. If he was, he wouldn't have gotten his ass whooped over Rolly Romero.
Beat him. Oh, his name is Tank Davis. So, I think we should give credit for guys that fighters have beat, right? That have beaten and has done something in the sport. What does that mean? That they're quality, right? Hello.
Well, I mean, you can give those guys B grade level, but you're never going to be able to give them A grade level. I mean, I'll give Frank Martin A grade level because of his combined talent, but Frank Martin has never even been a champion. So that's why I say Gervonta Tank Davis, don't get it twisted. He's a decently great fighter. He's someone that I think has a lot of potential. And he can win some of those bigger fights, but it's like, dude, come on. Like, people are getting tired of these fucking bullshit showcase fights.
It makes sense to me, right? I beat a guy named Miguel Vasquez, right? One of my toughest matches in my career. He went and won a strap at 135 and held that thing down for years. Yeah, he became something in the sport.
That's great, but does that necessarily mean that they're a quote unquote A grade level fighter or quote unquote quality? And we also have to talk about the standards of a Gervonta Tank Davis. Gervonta isn't just being compared as one of the better fighters in the world. He's looked at by many people and argued by many of his fan base to be debatably a top 5 pound for pound fighter in the world. Some would even debate him as the best fighter in the world. That's the problem. The standards aren't even just that Gervonta Tank Davis is a great fighter. The standards is that Gervonta Tank Davis, that he's being lowballed if you don't put him in the top 5 pound for pound or top 10 pound for pound. But he's really not facing anyone that would ever put him there. Anyway.
Who else? Man. Oh, his name is Mario Barrios.
Right, and no offense, my guy, but who the fuck has Mario Barrios ever defeated? Other than Yordenis Ugas, who was completely done after Errol Spence Jr. pretty much tore his ass up. Then Mario Barrios, in his most recent fight against a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao, who was out for about 2 or 3 fucking years, and he barely could even get the victory or the draw over him. No offense against Mario Barrios, but no one's taking a look at this dude and saying, oh wow, did you see Mario Barrios' performance last night? His last 2 fights have been a draw. He's had 2 draws in a row. One over a fucking guy that I don't even remember the name of, and then another guy overall against a fighter that, first of all, is smaller than him and Manny Pacquiao, and a guy that's been out for like 3 years. Like, just stop it.
Yeah. Forget the belt from now. Forget that. Barrios right now is a legitimate 147 pounder.
Yeah, he fights at 147 and he got that vacated title. If you were to fight anyone that was actually talented at that weight class, he would have never beat him. If he overall was forced to get in the fight against Jerron Boots Ennis and some of those other guys, he wouldn't be able to beat him. We just seen him against a Keith Thurman who wasn't quite the same a couple of years ago, and he just got completely thoroughly outboxed almost in every single round. Give me a fucking break about the Mario Barrios hype train.
Just fought Manny Pacquiao, got a draw with Manny Pacquiao.
Right, because Manny Pacquiao is just at the prime of his career. It's no offense against Timothy Bradley. You know, once again, the dude is not the worst analyzer I've ever heard, but he's either a guy that, you know, he hits it out of the park or he strikes out. And right now, he's majorly striking out. It's no offense, but he just sounds like a fucking dope in this video. Like, Mario Barrios got a draw against Manny Pacquiao, bro. Manny Pacquiao's been out for years, dude. And then on top of that, he's not even belonging at that weight class, and he's a guy that has no more fucking legs. And Barrios barely threw throughout that whole entire fight. I don't even know. I didn't even watch the whole entire fucking fight, to be quite honest with you overall. But I heard that it was a fight, you know, really that a lot of people thought Pacquiao could have won. Now, personally, I can't say that because I didn't watch it. But I did watch overall a good majority of it. Mario Barrios really didn't do anything that was super profound in that fight. He may have done enough to win from what I've seen overall or get the draw. But he didn't do enough in that fight for me to ever say, wow. Take a look at Mario Barrios. Like, come on, man.
Who beat him? Oh, let me guess. I think his name is Tank Damn Davis. My gosh. Who just fought? Who did Tank just fight just recently? Who is a world champion at 130 pounds? The man said the Tank power ain't what everybody think it is. The man said the Tank is small. His name is Roach, right?
Look at this motherfucker's face. I don't know if this man had some strong crack or some strong coffee or a little bit of both this morning. Yes, his name is Lamont Roach. And let me tell you what. If you were to have any other top 10 pound-for-pound boxer in the world, especially of Gervonta Tank Davis's caliber in terms of star power, and they were to move up a fighter from another weight class, and he had about a 40% stoppage ratio or knockout ratio, And about 5 fights ago, he lost to Jamel Herring, someone that Shakur Stevenson basically made look like a bitch in the ring, overall. And he was a guy that was moving up in weight. People overall would not overall stop, calling him a cherry picker. And don't get it twisted. People did call Gervonta Tank Davis a cherry picker. And to be honest with you, in my personal view, it's kind of apropos. It's no offense. But if Inoue was doing this, people would be calling him a cherry picker. If Usyk or Canelo was doing this, people would be calling him a cherry picker all the way over, all across the world, and it would be apropos. If Devin Haney was doing this, people would be calling him a cherry picker. If Crawford did this, people would be calling him a cherry picker. So Gervonta Tank Davis is gonna have to reap, what he sows.
Yeah, he's a champion at 130. Now, I understand the circumstances. It's a draw, but I'm just saying, he got in the ring with that man.
Once again, let another fighter on the top 10 pound-for-pound list, especially that is looked at in high regard. Let Inoue, let Canelo, let someone like a Crawford, or let someone like a Haney, or let someone overall like a Usyk get a draw over a fighter that moves up in weight, that isn't known to really have, bone-crushing power, especially against a guy over Gervonta Davis that does have one-shot knockout power. He moves him up in weight. This guy lost to a B-grade level fighter about 5 fights ago. Let that happen to another one of those fighters that I just mentioned, and see the uproar from many boxing fans, and see how overrated they get called and how much of a cherry picker they get called. If one of those other fighters did that, there would be no end to the criticism they would get.
Right? Yeah. Who else? Ryan Garcia. Now, we want to give Ryan Garcia credit, right? For beating Haney, right? A lot of y'all want to give him credit for that, even though he was on the, the Osterrain, and, Haney had to avoid the left hook, Styles make fights, so on and so forth. I told y'all about the weight class. He had the weight, the 3 pounds. He had the advantage going in, but we don't want to give.
He did have a slight advantage going in. That being stated, that in my view was not enough. Even with Ryan Garcia being on steroids, it was not enough in my personal view for Devin Haney to perform like that. You're supposed to be one of the top 5 pound-for-pound fighters debatably at that time. That really has done so much damage to Devin Haney's career, and I'm not really ever sure if he is going to be quite mentally the same ever again. Now, of course, a certain amount of people may say, well, why would you say overall that that's not enough? The man was caught on PEDs, right? But anyone that knows my personal opinion, at least allegedly, about that of the snack program, you already know that I think that they're possibly on something. Let me say allegedly. That way, overall, I'm not getting sued out here or anything like that. Allegedly, I think that the snack program is suspicious and possibly a PED haven. Allegedly. But anyways, the thing overall is that, when you talk about it, when it comes down to it, Timothy Bradley overall, it's like, I'm sorry, dude, but Ryan Garcia is not an A-grade level fighter. I mean, he might be around an A-, but pretty much any hopes of that was pretty much recently killed with this Rolly Romero performance.
Credit to Tank for making Ryan Garcia come down in weight. Tank is 5'4.5". It's 5'4" some change.
And it's no offense against Gervonta Tank Davis, but it's not even like he fought Ryan Garcia at Ryan Garcia's full weight. Now, I'm not going to go against Gervonta Tank Davis too much for that, because, of course, I've seen other fighters do that, like Canelo Alvarez and Mayweather and, certain other guys like that, Pacquiao, but it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, even Ryan Garcia at an absolute, ballooned up weight, though. It's not like Ryan Garcia was ever an A+ skilled level fighter. He's someone that is very physically talented. You can maybe debate that that's an A-grade level win in, Gervonta Tank Davis's career. But the problem is that when the 2 biggest wins of your career over Frank Martin and Ryan Garcia are over guys that have never even won belts before, there's a problem. At least the guys that are probably the most talented that you've ever fought. And then the third guy that was probably the most ever talented that you fought, probably all around skill-wise, in a Lamont Roach that knew how to fight you, you moved him up a weight class. This guy's not even known for his most significant power, although he doesn't have bad crack. It's just kind of the type of style that he fights in. But the point is that Lamont Roach's power, it's not like he's a top 10 puncher, overall within boxing or anything like that, and you're supposed to be. So I mean, the thing is that you have a draw against that dude? No.
Ryan Garcia damn near 6 foot. Big guy. But we don't want to give him credit for that. And who just beat him? A guy that Tank smashed. Rolly Romero.
Right, and also a guy that Isaac Pitbull Cruz smashed. So, I mean, it's like, no offense, but Rolly Romero is just not that good. I'm sorry. And this is why overall I state that, the standards to me for an A grade level fighter is when I take a look at you, and although this is somewhat subjective, you have to at least get a win, or you could possibly debatably beat another A minus level fighter. Does anyone think that Rolly Romero beats an A minus level fighter around him? Because I'm not really quite sure if Ryan Garcia is really a confirmed A minus level fighter. Does anyone think, for example, that at 140, that Rolly Romero would have beat someone like a prime Jose Ramirez? Does anyone think that Rolly Romero would have beat a prime Victor Postal? Does anyone think that Rolly Romero would have beat an Alberto Puello or an Antoine Russell or a Subriel Matias or anyone like that? Does anyone think that Rolly Romero would have beat those guys? And some of those guys like Subriel Matias, to be quite honest with you, I don't even count as a definitive A-grade level fighter. Would Rolly Romero have even beat a Liam Paro? No fucking offense, but Rolly Romero got two of the weakest championships that I've ever seen in my life. No offense.
Damn, this is interesting.
It's like the man literally had to fucking face nobody in order to get those belts.
Right now, 3 fighters on Tank's resume are world champions. Are world champions.
Right, and how did they end up getting those belts, dude? Like, that's my point. They didn't beat shit. So, I mean, people overall can get upset about that all they want to, but no offense, but Al Heyman knew what he was doing, especially when they vacated those titles and he moved them to those weight classes immediately. He knew what he was doing.
Who beat him? Tank. Ain't that something?
This man said, Tank. This motherfucker overall working on his improv or his Hollywood accent skills for this one or something.
6 of them right now are still rated top 10 in their weight class.
Right, that's great, but what does that really mean, dude? Like, if you take a look at a multitude of other fighters, like if we take a look at Inoue, the Maloney brothers, they probably would still be ranked top 10 within their particular weight class. What the fuck does that really mean? Like, who cares? If we take a look at Inoue and a lot of the 18 pounders that he still fought, I'm sure that a lot of them are still top 10. Who gives a shit? Like, point is that don't make them A-grade level fighters.
Some even number 1 right now in their weight class. Hey.
Some are number 1 in their weight class. Who is number 1 in their particular weight class, Mr. Timothy Bradley? Overall, that really is on Gervonta Tank Davis's resume. Please let me know. Is it Frank Martin? We already know that the answer is no. Is it Ryan Garcia? We already know the answer is no. And those are probably hands down the 2 best wins in his career. Is it Rolly Romero or Mario Barrios? I mean, you might be able to debate that now that there's really no talent there, now that Jerome Butzena's kind of left there and Virgil Ortiz left there. It's like, who the fuck else is there? Like, I'll tell you this much. If Stanionis, that one Lithuanian fighter that just lost to Jerome Butzenas, if he even comes up half of what he was against Rolly Romero, Mario Barrios, they're not going to win against Stanionis. Like this is my point overall. Once again, it's no offense against Rolly. It's no offense against Barrios. It's like, who the fuck did you beat in order to get those titles? The answer is nobody.
When I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Well, I appreciate overall the sentiment, Timothy Bradley, but I do have to majorly disagree with you. And this is in no way overall me trying to just shit on Gervonta Tank Davis throughout this whole entire video. This is just me overall pointing out, because this is what the Tank Davis fans have been doing for a very long time. And we always know, of course, the standards of quote-unquote certain fighters. Well, this guy was a bum, all sort of stuff. Once again, we need to have a standard, or at least you should have a standard, of what, in your personal view, is an A-grade level fighter. And an A-grade level fighter is not just confirmed, in my personal view, just because they're undefeated or still top 10 in their weight class. Do you know how many people would still be top 10 in their particular weight class and they ain't really shit? I mean, I'm sorry, but it is what it is.
Wrong. I was wrong, Tank. I was wrong, Tank fans.
Like, David Avanesian, I believe, was even top 10, for a welterweight for a very long time. Does that mean that David Avanesian all of a sudden has to be considered a great fighter or a great win? Like, give me a fucking break.
This man is a Hall of Famer. Oh, shoot, I almost forgot. What about Leo Santa Cruz, 4-weight division world champion?
Leo Santa Cruz is also maybe another debatable A-grade level win. That being stated, Leo Santa Cruz, in my personal view, he's not someone overall that was ever going to defeat that of a Gervonta Tank Davis. But if you want to claim that as an A- level win, he did have a couple of decent wins in his career over Carl Frampton and a couple of other guys. I don't know 100% if I would label him as someone that's a confirmed A-grade level fighter, but about A- if you want to. I do think that Gervonta had, a little bit of size, and I don't think that Leo Santa Cruz really had the power to compete with him. But that being stated, Gervonta is a little bit shorter in stature. So if you want to give him A- for that one as well, I mean, I could certainly understand it. But outside of Cruz, maybe Ryan Garcia, and certainly Frank Martin, there's just not really much else to point to. And it's not like those fighters were looked at as pound-for-pound level talents, when Gervonta fought them. I mean, maybe Santa Cruz at one time was top 10 pound-for-pound, but, he didn't remain there long.
Yeah, he fought at 130 pounds. What, we don't give him credit because he wanted to go up and challenge Tank? He had one fight before he fought against Tank.
And isn't that so interesting? So many of these channels like Dante and Aki TV, they'll always criticize Canelo or someone like that, bringing up a fighter up a weight class. But you never hear these criticisms for certain guys like Gervonta Tank Davis. They're quiet as a church mouse on these matters.
Yeah. But we want to give all these other guys credit that move up and down in weight classes and stuff. Either win or lose, we want to give them credit. We gave Mayweather credit for fighting Manny Pacquiao, who's a little guy.
Well, Mayweather might debatably be the most hated boxer that I've ever personally seen in my life. But Mayweather, the reason why he's also super hated is for a multitude of reasons. But a big part of the reason why Mayweather also is super hated is because he never lost and he did things his way and he was able to attain debatably the greatest boxing career of all time. Gervonta Tank Davis, no offense, but let's not compare him to Floyd Mayweather, dude.
Come on, man.
Like, Floyd Mayweather was fighting pound-for-pound level fighters like Diego Chico Corrales, I believe. Overall, when he was like within his first 25 fights. No offense, but Gervonta Tank Davis should have already done something on the level like a Floyd Mayweather.
Anyways, look. Tank, you got a Hall of Fame career, my boy.
Well, he has a Hall of Fame career, but what does that really state? It's no offense. There are many fighters that you can claim are in the Hall of Fame, So, I mean, Paulie Malignaggi I would consider as a Hall of Famer. So, I mean, the thing is what does that really mean?
You do. Absolutely. Because look at this. It's when he fought these guys. It's when he fought them.
Right, he fought a whole bunch of undefeated fighters that were very well known for not really going to last that long. He fought Isaac Pitbull Cruz. I mean, he already had one loss, but he was looked at the peak of his career at the time. No one really was taking a look at Isaac Pitbull Cruz and said, wow, he's just going to take over the weight class. No one took a look at Mario Barrios and say, wow, he's going to beat Josh Taylor, Jose Ramirez, and Regis Prograis. Like, no one said that. No one took a look at Rolly Romero and said, wow, Rolly Romero is going to beat guys overall like a Teofimo Lopez or Devin Haney and Gervonta Tank Davis and Shakur. Like no one said that. It's when he beat these guys. It's like, yeah, it's like, you can debate that he beat them at the peak of their career, but what the fuck does that really mean? Like, Terrence Crawford beat Aegis Kavalaskas, overall at the peak of his career. What does that really mean, dude? It's like, no offense. But yeah, you can beat overall guys that are bums or B or C grade level fighters at the peak of their career. Doesn't fucking mean overall that it's an A grade level win. I'm sorry.
Where were they rated? Where were they at? And what are these guys doing now? How many guys on, let's say, Shakur's resume right now that are currently still world champion? Or anybody else? You gotta look at that.
Right, but we also have to take a look and see, did Shakur's level of opposition get the same opportunities as what Gervonta Tank Davis did? Because it's no offense, but it's very clear that Al Heyman, that he very obviously was behind overall, that orchestrated move to different weight classes. Did Oscar Valdez move up another weight class and go when the titles were all vacated? Like, is that what he did? Or did he stay at his weight class and try to fight the best guy there, and Emmanuel Navarrete? Like, what are we talking about here, dude?
Look at that. How many of these guys that these guys have faced, any guy, pick a guy, that are currently world champions right now? That means that they quality.
Now, that being stated, I would claim that the win that Gervonta has over Frank Martin, in my view, is probably a more talented fighter than what Shakur Stevenson ever beat. You can claim that. But, the thing is about Gervonta is that with his career trajectory, he should have just done more in his career. And I'm sorry, but people are getting real sick and tired of these bullshit fights where you fight a fighter that more than likely is not going to have a chance.
That's what that means.
And it's not looked at as an A-grade level talent.
And when Tank beat them, they were quality. Yes.
No, they weren't. they were B-grade level quality for sure. But were they ever A-grade level quality other than a Frank Martin and some other guys like that? No.
Anyways, man, hey, I already know y'all about to come after your boy. Hey, but you know I can take it. Car Chronicles off the hinges.
Looks like you took something else this morning as well.
I love Car Chronicles. I hope y'all love it too. But damn it, Tank is a damn Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I agree. He is a Hall of Famer. He's also a great fighter. But he has one of the most overrated, and overall propagandic careers that I've ever seen in my life. No offense.
I'm out.
Man, overall gave you the gangster look at the end. Lets you know that he means business. Anyways, that pretty much is about it for today. I just thought that I would talk about that. But Gervonta, of course, great fighter. Someone that I think overall has a lot of potential, but it's no offense. But, there's a reason why he's received so much criticism. I'm sorry, but it is what it is. And he even tried to compare Gervonta Tank Davis to someone like a Floyd Mayweather. I'm sorry, but no, not even close. You can't even compare Gervonta Tank Davis to someone like a Floyd Mayweather. Like they're not even in the same realm. You can't even compare him to guys like Crawford or Canelo or Usyk or Inoue. Like shit, you can't even compare him to an Inoue. And I don't even think Inoue has the strongest of resumes. But I mean, it is what it is. But anyways, that being stated overall, that pretty much is about it for today. I just thought that was very particularly interesting. But once again, we almost have a standard of what our argument is going to be, or what a quote-unquote A-grade level fighter is. To me, what an A-grade level fighter is not just someone that's a one-hit wonder and can actually beat at least one A-grade level fighter and has some sort of relative talent. And when you take a look at Gervonta Tank Davis's career, other than maybe Santa Cruz and Frank Martin and Ryan Garcia, there's just nothing else there. I'm sorry. But none of those other wins are A-grade level wins. Is what it is. But anyways, that pretty much is about it for today. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll talk to you all later.